Sorry, I have to. I don't think it's good to see you.
I can she said, set up an extra call. Oh, she said, okay, I'll check it out. So, okay, I'm sorry. No, it's okay. No, she told me, so I brought it. But that's okay. Either way, I'll leave the most for next month. So I like that.
This is August 21st. Sure it's gone back. Yeah, it's 2023, so we're all welcome. People appreciate it. I can remember 19 years ago, we had 2 people in the audience. We've come a long way. So we're glad to see you. If you will, just stand for prayer. Saying our national.
Pledge allegiance. You don't see that.
Okay, back again. Lord, our prayer tonight is, may the Lord abundantly bless your hopes, your dreams, and bring blessings out of your trials and challenges, and bless others through your hands and your heart. We ask this in your name. Amen.
To the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we have got some members. Go ahead and go through some of our agenda. Our pledges, so we can share this with the class. So bear with us for just a little bit. We also, I know that in part of our opening here, Sorry, I always thought that. Okay, you're good. No. Is that a give it a test?
Last is that.
Partially working from my okay. Can you hear now? Okay, I'll just boom, I'll always blow it up. What we're gonna do is, skip our budget just a little while, we're gonna come on up and do some of the agenda things that we're doing now. Comments for the community members, anything that has to do with the PUD, is we're not gonna put on our 3-minute chart, we're gonna have time to talk. Both sides of the time to make a presentation. We've been through this quite a bit, and this will ask everybody, please try to come up with some other ideas, or making the same point very quickly, because we all got to go this point several times for both of our groups. So we'll, when that time comes up, we'll give you an opportunity to talk on both entities. Is there anybody here tonight who wants to visit with the council, any concerns they have, that thing? Oh, come on, the library is open, and we even have books.
Yes, well, we have more than just that.
All
We're
right.
at everything. All right, hey y'all, Abby from the Public Library for Village. So what do I have for you? We have story time tomorrow morning from 10 to 11 for the littles. A reminder that we do have a notary on staff, free of charge, though do call ahead, just to ensure that the person is there and that we can legally notarize whatever it is. And we do have notaries across all of our libraries. And then the final one I have is that for the first time ever, we are going to have a fall better book sale. And so this will be October 6th and 7th from 9 to 5 at the OSU OKC campus. So thanks.
Jenny?
Okay, my legs give me trouble, so everybody hear me, I don't have to stand. Is that okay? Okay. I want to remind everybody that Police Academy starts in September. If you're interested in anything that goes into the police department, it's really great. Anyway, it starts in September. I talked to the chief, and he said he does have a few slots left, and it's well worth the time. I want to remind you of the SALT meeting, which is September the 11th, because of Labor Day, and that's for seniors and law enforcement together. The girl who teaches it is very, very informative, and she does a great job, very impressive. So, and I've had several people call me asking questions about what we're going to do with Beaver Park, and I know that's like 2 years down the road, but we have a ways to go. The Pasadena Manor Neighborhood Association would like to meet with either the law design and the council, or just find out what we're going to do with the park. I mean, I know what the plans are, but there's some people who like to have things done with it. So we're asking for it. I'm just going to put the button in there so we can at least, when it comes closer to it, let me know like we can put it together. Okay? And I'm glad Ken's here. I would ask you this time, what's the rule on lawns in the backyard?
Same as the front,
It is?
we just have to be aware of them. So we do our weekly drives as we see them from the front, but if it's a backyard that we can't see, we usually depend on calling and things.
Okay, okay. Because I know,
Keep your gates closed.
when they replace the fence for the Hidden Village, there's really few dogs. But there's one that's,
There's a few of them that will.
okay, we didn't know, and I said, I don't know if we have to stop any fence, but you know, if you can see it or you're aware of it, then you
Correct.
can stop it.
If anybody has a neighbor that has a backyard that's out there, more than welcome to call the department, let us know, we'll check whatever we can, but we don't have time to go backyard to backyard.
Okay, all right, thank you. And I want to wish Sean Cummings an early happy birthday, because his birthday is tomorrow.
Well, you can probably drink your coffee. There you go.
And the last thing I wanted to mention, I've been out of town and I picked up a newspaper and this was in the newspaper. And I'd love to see us do it here and I want to plant a seed, maybe we'll decide to want to do it. It's about, it says a part of Missouri's Good Neighbor Week. We will honor some of our engaged neighbors. If you know someone who makes their neighborhood better, helps neighbors feel included, devotes their time and talents to the neighborhood, please submit your name to the iterator. And I would love to see us do something like that. And I'll give you the article, and then I don't know how you're going to do it, you end up deciding to do it. You know, nominees, and then the council can decide who you want to honor. I think there's a lot of really nice people in the village, and I'd love to see. And so, it might just be mowing the neighbor's yard, but, you know, people around the way. And I think we have a lot of that. And I think we work very positive with that. And I'll give you the article.
That's what we had before.
That's it, thank you. Thank you, Ken, very much.
Approval of the consent agenda, council, do you have anything we would like to ask you?
Second.
I'll stay over here.
Yeah.
We have a guest with us tonight. I think that you know, it's a proclamation for a young lady that served us well in the village. I kind of started with her. She taught everything I don't know. Leslie Baxter. And I think the comment that I enjoyed was when I think Dave got put this together. She said, God, I didn't know she did so much. She did quite a bit for us. Her group also. And Jeff is part of that now. So we've come a long way since the early days of the village. And some of you guys don't know, you know, the history is we've done nothing but get better and do things that citizens need, roads and tips, or covering a specific arena over here in the civic area. Different things like that, our grocery stores, and Leslie's been involved in almost everything we've done. So as I read this, I just wish you to keep thinking that this is all true, that this is what we've done. We've done so much of this, and Leslie has been the biggest part of everything we've done. And so I would like to read the proclamation for Leslie, and at the very end, I'm going to ask her to stand up. And we will applaud her again, and I would like to recognize her council for present her with this plaque. I'm going to read from this, so if I stutter and stammer a little bit, bear with me. Got new glasses on, and I can see pretty well. Leslie, this is for you. Whereas Leslie Baxter has been a long-standing visionary partner of the city of the village through her commitment and dedication to economic redevelopment, creating vibrant growth for positive future impacts for the community, and whereas her direct efforts in creating the Village Development Authority, tax incremental financing districts, and urban renewal plan enable redevelopment and public infrastructure improvements that turn the city's fortune and future around. Whereas her continued partnership directly enabled the demolition of a blighted apartment complex to be replaced with very active senior living and retirement communities, and whereas her passionate work for the village also resulted in the redevelopment of the Love's Corporate Event Center and Uptown Grocers, and whereas in addition to her economic development impact for the village, she also served as city attorney from 2014 through 2020, developing the city's first economic development incentive program and the first large-scale planning effort, the Village Vision, is what we call it, which led to the general obligation bonds approved by voters for parks, recreation improvements, pedestrian access improvements, street and drainage repair, as well as current Civic Plaza and Village Green projects, which you see over here. Whereas her innovative leadership is directly attributed to the quality of life improvements in the community for commercial activity, residential housing, infrastructure advancement, job creation and growth, and the village is a better place because of her commitment and dedication to the city of the village. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed by the mayor and the city council, the city of the village, Oklahoma, that Leslie Baxter is hereby commended for her commitment and dedication to the community. Be it further proclaimed that in honor of her long-lasting impact on the city of the village, shall be recognized as an honorary distinguished citizen of the village. Yet be further proclaimed that in appreciation and recognition for service that Wednesday, August 30th, 2023, will be Leslie Baxter Day in the city of the village. And we're going to have her round of applause.
Friday paper, you gotta have this.
Thank you so much. So nice to meet you.
What are you saying? Yeah, I was thinking that, what I was going to say about Leslie real quick. One of the points in the proclamation was that she was very much involved in this blighted area over here, which you guys always are around 434, 36 parking units. And so the apartment complex, the owner was kind of not real happy with us because we were trying to get it where it would either be fixed up or sold or whatever. And so we went to a meeting. We were going to go meet Bruce, Leslie, and I to the folks who owned it, which was who was that? It was one of the government agencies. And so we were going in just for a talk, with them and just to get some ideas. We walked in and, like this, and Leslie's dressed appropriately, of course, but we walked in, and all of a sudden I looked up and there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 suits. And the 12th was even bigger than the others. We were met with a cutting bedding full of attorneys. So that was one of our great introductions of Leslie. Here you go, we'll work it out. And she did, and this is what we had. So Leslie has been involved in so much. I don't want to run this in the ground, but it should be. And then for Leslie, I don't think we would have been quite as successful as we have. I know we wouldn't be. I would have had some great council members, and you guys have all filtered in, and we've had members in and out. Everybody has worked hard to make this work, especially our last contribution from the county organization. That was a remarkable event and something that we all should be proud of. So anyway, again, that is a few comments. I don't think we can ever say enough, but I think Leslie's going to Washington, if I'm not mistaken. Are you ready to run for president? We're going to be watching. So anyway, thanks for celebrating with us on that. Oh, yeah, I want you guys to have anything to say.
I gotta tack on to that for Leslie. You're the champion of what you've done for the city. And I remember when I was first on the council, I reached out to Leslie and I was in awe that she'd go sit and have coffee with me and just talk through some issues. And she'd sit there and go, what do you want to do? And I go, I have no earthly idea what we can do. So what do you think about X, Y, or Z? And she'd take notes, and then I get an email later, Jeff was in, we moved in. she would figure out plans and ideas on how to do it. Anything that you would say was a thought, she'd come back with a plan. And I think that the village is never gonna be the same, because you are on the Mount Rushmore village. So, surprised for having that car next out here, Fred's working on it. But I mean, really, you personally guided me through a lot of your great counsel, great advice whenever I needed it, to figure out how to be a council member, to be a mayor. Those are the texts that they'll cover all the way, which then moved us to Jeff and the whole staff down there that just works wonders for us. So I don't know how we could have done this without you. And to your family, thank you for, I'm sure, enjoying nights and for being up here until 10, 11 o'clock at night with us all the time. My mom still works nights at church late, so I know what that can do to a family when you just walk home. And so that was the time you gave us. City's in debt to you for that forever. So we expect some good drinks in DC if we can make it out there, you too. But good conversation and catching up someday. But I'm so happy for you guys to get to do this next chapter. It's well deserved. The whole metro of the state owes you everything. You guys don't want for us. So thank you.
Put that plaque up there to remind everybody watching their office what you've done for them. Building first back.
Out of town? We never hear that. You guys never, yeah.
Yeah, I know you work for the county and she had nothing but great things to say about you all the time. She gave her the confidence to kind of turn into the political animal that she became.
And Leslie.
No, it goes and I think it's hard to be a visionary and really come up with ideas that are really beyond the scope of most people and then figure out some way to put it in common knowledge with everything. But I think that they've got a bit of talent and you're about it. So thank you for everything you've done. I didn't get to work with you near as much as she did. So thank you for that.
I'm brand new to this position, but I've been able to live through many of the improvements that they spoke of on your list of accomplishments. And the other night, at our last meeting, when we were discussing your history and your, all of the accolades that are rightfully bestowed upon you, I was immediately like, well, we should do something. I mean, you don't let someone leave like that and don't tell them how they changed things and what they need to. And so I, as a village resident of 29 plus years, I thank you because I love Uptown Grocery. And many of the other things that they spoke of. So thank you again for your legacy, which you do with us.
Jeff, what do you have to say about your laws?
Public record, no pressure.
Oh, yeah. Well, first thing, so 10 or 11 o'clock is probably when we do the best I can council meeting. So, obviously, officer leadership and grateful for the almost 13 years I had working for. I'll save some of my big goodbyes for later this month, but what can use. I will still probably call you on occasion to talk about the village things that I don't understand. So,
It's great for you. You understand it. It's good. Yeah, she got you. Dave, how about you? It's kind of putting you on the spot.
Just to echo what everyone said, just appreciate the long-term impact you've had on this community. I did ask Jeff for some highlights, and he replied back very quickly. I said, you have to form one page to be able to be read. And the only frames that I have are 8.5 by 11 on legal side. So it was very refreshing as I've learned the history of the village and how things happen, the nuts and bolts and how they really happen. What you've done for economic development, for redevelopment, urban renewal has led to what we're doing, the quality of life, trails, parks, and pedestrian access. And, you know, when you get to DC and people say, oh, where's the village? Like I tell people, well, you've heard of Oklahoma City, they built themselves around the village.
there was one more thing that I forgot to put in the information for the proclamation, but it should be noted too that Leslie is a alumni of Cassidy School. So, yeah, before she represented the village, he was in the village.
Forgot about that. And when you're talking to your, be sure to tell them that Oklahoma City and Edmond are our favorite subjects. It takes a few minutes for everybody to get that. Suburbs. Okay, so anyway, thanks. And by the way, that's let's go through this. Okay, we're going to go on down to reports and correspondence. David?
Budget summary for July, packets, start the year off with this first month in. And my miscellaneous highlights, this looks pretty normal, pretty routine. We don't obviously spend all our money once for the fiscal year because we get a little bit that comes in. Federal state agencies get a pot on day one, so we do have some purchases moving forward on police purchase for the police cars. TJ's got some long-term, some of his equipment's gonna take a lot of order to come in and try not to tackle all the capital improvement plans at once. Bank balance statements, so we can run about 760,000 cash on hand. Investment in securities are still performing well.
We have a bunch of CDs coming in.
We just renewed two. They're being pretty consistent. We're trying to get them spread out where they're not, can do it at the same time. So we just renewed two of them.
You guys work good out there with this.
Yeah, the interest rate is still really good right now.
Starting to get some invoices coming in on the street work and on the overlay.
That one's hard to say. I can't get it turned. At the top, you could rotate it. Oh, X. There we go.
Sales tax, my category, we're sitting around $531,000.
When was the last time you tried tax revenue? Everyone not working. We've all set up there.
On which tax?
All of our, the grocery tax or retail.
We look at it monthly, but, our quarterly is a better assessment, which is the first month.
It's done that, it comes up and shoot it out. Last time we looked at it, I think our issue came in, but that's a fine. Okay, department reports.
We have been staying busy with all the drains that we've had coming, building, the grass does grow faster. We do have a time period that, before someone, for their due process, when they send a letter, that we can go and debate it. So if people do call in, please be advised, we can't get there that afternoon and clean it up without violating the process. Animal control, we are still full pound and looking October, September 9th is the adoption day. I have flyers here on my desk for maybe out here, which you'll see on our social media page. We're hosting a animal adoption center on Britain. I can be address, but I'll get that to you guys. Any questions for code or community development can be directed to Ken. Ken is officially now our plan director. City planner, go to inspection guru, whatever you want to call him, who is in the past. That moved supervisor to department head.
Congrats, Ken.
Dan, well done. What I like about Ken is, as a building inspector, sometimes you get a lot of different folks that you talk to, some are glad to talk to, and some aren't. But, Ken is always very positive, and he's always professional. I really, I feel a lot of respect. I really appreciate that. Try that. One of these days, we'll switch on south.
Public Works has been staying active, it's a challenge in this heat. In addition to this, they poured some cement on Hefner by the Bog Community Center. There's a place that had no concrete to it, and when Ben's office went next to it, and we had a few people asked about it, and they were going to expand their driveway and enlarge it, and didn't have a date to do that, so now you can walk down West Hefner on the sidewalk, travel through the streets, and a couple more things on the public works side that I'll cover this evening. Village Police Department continues to stay busy. Chief Morrow has advanced his retirement from the end of December to right at the end of September. He is going to stay through and make sure our accreditation renewal moves forward. His wife retired about this time last year, about a year, looking at the fairly time and on work with all he can take. So we do have 2 officers, 2 new hires that are currently in clean training, and we gave a tentative offer to a clean certified officer that will come to us from Oklahoma City University Security. So pass these tests and checks, and cover the county jail contract under Myrtle. Citizen Police Academy does begin in September. They do like to keep those classes small so that everyone can participate adequately and equally. Fire department staying busy a lot this heat. Mary asked for the MSA. There are 125 responses last month. 111 transports. All of that average time is 36:20. When you look through the urgent, life-threatening responses, they were a lot faster. So that is the. I can send them to you. It's still improving, but the average on all for.
I talked to the Denver City Council member about the decision behind that, and said, we're not totally there yet, but we're getting closer.
We're monitoring.
Yeah.
Hey, did we ever find a home for our old bunker deal? Bunker deal?
It's still, we have ordered, we placed the order, but it's a good lead time. So it's all we just pick up off the shelf. I can't remember what the lead time was. He gets it on that, it's up ordered now. I'm driving, it was.
I see pictures here of kids, should we go to the fire truck to a certain area, maybe schools, but they really enjoy it. They do. Firemen put on a great show, which is good for all of us, because they really mean it, they really try to please. After seeing so many of them, very, very fortunate to have them. One of these days, we're gonna get them a fire truck. They have 2 new ones, by the way.
Jump over into the Law report, as you can tell, next door is beginning to start looking like a quality of life enhancement. Civic Plaza, it's coming to life, and main thing I'll throw out is that we're still working on that intersection. It's an engineering. I think they'll have some. I think they've made suggestions to us. We've discussed that. The intersection at Vineyard and Manchester is designed to slow vehicle traffic down to allow for better pedestrian access, and it slows vehicles down real well. So much that you can't get around it, but, that project, that we realized that, took a look at it, sent it back for review, it worked according to design, we just need to work in there, so. Forward with that, we have to wait until the sod, the irrigation, and all the electric goes in, and have to tear it out. July weather days, 4 weather days in July, they didn't work, still planning to, finish off on.
What's the deal with the entrance? The neighborhood is still being blocked off. Is there any, I mean,
Yes,
to be
Meadow
fair,
Park
it's
has
totally
there's a
blocked
line.
out.
Yeah, basically here.
Yeah.
The contractors hit their vent line when they were putting in the it's been excavated, it's been open, Boyd and Meadow Park have some kind of outrageous demand for us to fix it. We said that when we asked for utility locates, we would call Opie, you guys never responded. Boyd has been working to get that resolved, that electric work is not completed. So apparently it's not that bad, it can wait this long.
Yeah, but so is that why that street's blocked off?
Till then, it's
Would love to get it back up. And live there, I mean, we may do, but it seems like we're.
I'll follow up on that.
Yeah.
We meet every Wednesday and discuss that. Wednesday before last,
The people that are nice about it, I think, nobody's called me out, and I would.
No, it's getting close, and so there's no crunch time.
Dave, I wanted to make sure I understood what was just stated. That we called Oakley for marking and they didn't read.
It's a private utility. They have a private easement through there, so they should have came and marked it. We don't feel that the city or Wynn or their subcontractor is liable because they failed, they were given notice on it. I think they accepted that. They still haven't been out to there.
Okay.
And there came some issues with some of the other light poles might be in their private easement. It's moving forward, it did not move forward fast.
Okay. The reason I asked specifically because I've never heard of Oakley like, we have easement on our property for things that they do in Cassidy. They came on our property and marked it just fine. So, I was just curious. Thank you.
And I don't think Larry can do the lines there, so.
No, that's saying something.
Lower Civic Park, in by the library, we've seen lately, we've seen some metal structure, and we're trying to actually look like things. Not just some abstract art, so that's going to be planetary play structure. I installed, getting more components in there. All the landscaping will be done at that stage when it's ready. We've got some comments on the islands in the library. They sprayed some weed killer down there, that will be landscape. But that crew comes in and does everything at once. It's a cost prohibitive for bringing into a tenth of the project.
Planning with 110 degrees.
Oh, yeah, it's fine.
Ideal, but there's two books in the library. Each property.
This nozzles are installed at the Grant Plaza, that's fountain. Driving the fountain, so you get around, walk there, be careful, it's still a construction site. We're gonna start seeing some of the things coming together. Yeah, it was pretty easy to identify. I can't remember what the engineering cost was to redo it, and all they do is let a couple trucks drive it.
Yeah.
Of course, they didn't do it.
That's what the most officer today, when I saw those tracks.
Yeah.
What we decided? What's the plan?
Essentially, shading off this area in here, kind of rounding that more, and then over the other lane, straightening out where it goes down Manchester and bring it back up. And that was a facilitation. It is, but I mean, honestly, on paper, it looks great. It's not on traffic, it's on facility pedestrians. And, once it gets to 3D, things kind of look a little bit different. The cedar cladding that is on the City Plaza has been rather interesting because apparently no two boards are the exact same diameter and there's about a half-inch variance in size. So it's coming along. It's going to be okay. They have some boards that they have to replace and whatever the vendor has in stock. It is high quality. It's going to work. We have some waterproofing membrane installed on the Civic Stage roof. That and I really looking forward to when they start roofing that. Just a little peace of quiet outside. Again, we're seeing on the fitness pavilion, roof structure by the library, Village Green.
So the good news is we didn't have to plant anything in summertime.
Yeah, so the area's kind of helped guide into perspective and see if we're making progress. So that's good. We set those to the plans here, that specific one. Yeah. You can see how. Yeah. Yeah, we do that there. I think we had the last year. Yeah, I'll try that. Anybody come to claim? I don't know what to say. Has anybody come to claim they get a break? Not that I'm listening. Does that? Concrete trucks there daily morning, electricians working.
Some of the engineers in the audience, this is a massive undertaking for the things that we, ask everyone to do is massive. It's got to be well coordinated, and it's got to be well managed, and, all those things are happening.
And there's so much going on, and so unique, there's discussion on some of the lighting fixtures that are being around. And as they come with their pigtails, they're trying to think you get like a 10-foot extension of the road. That's not it. So some of the brackets or the bracing, holding the structures together, whether that's a bolt or a weld, a lot of meticulous detail has been put
Put it in.
So the city manager's report for you, I'll put everyone to sleep yet. As I mentioned earlier, Chief Landon and I met with Tony Powery, the COO and Assistant Jail Administrator for the Oklahoma County Detention Center. They were open to a conversation once we realized that we average about 10 to 12 municipal bookings a year violating city code. They realized that we were not going to be a high tax and charge on them and accommodated us. So he took the old contract to their ADA, who's reviewing it. Once they get it together, we'll send it back down. Tony Powery, the Chief Operating Officer and the Assistant Jail Administrator for the Oklahoma County Detention Center. The contract with Midwest City expired, and Midwest City did not want to renew. I just don't think they wanted to get in business and take another. They were not able to take everyone who wants to go there. So, if you've driven around town anywhere lately, you've seen some streets that are nice and shiny and smooth and really good for residential streets. New construction is doing a great job on the mill and overlay. When we start the second half of this, we're going to try to do a little better marketing on it that fix base repairs first. And then we come back and clean it up and make it smooth with the mill and overlay. They went in and did a lot of base repairs. People were calling up here. Yeah, just fix my street. Of course, it was when we started. Yes, let's explain it a little bit, sure. Rudy doing a good job on that. Kevin and Larry have been pretty impressed. Really feathering everything, driveways nicely. Sidewalk rehab going down and grinding, precision cutting, we started that today. So in various locations across town, precision cutting is doing that for us. I mentioned the sidewalk on Hefner, Duffin and Wayne School Parks remain under construction and waiting on receivables and materials. And when they get here, they'll start looking together. Not much of a projected lead on that. We covered the Civic Plaza from the law report, and again, it's, you can see it, start to feel like something, and so it's going to be done this fall. On the 29th, we'll be meeting BWR design on the sidewalk plan for the first half of the sidewalk for the bonds. And I think they're pretty close on that. Our goal is to remove as few trees as possible. The original plan was just about a foot off the street, and then the tree was the way it was going out. So I know we don't have a whole lot of extra chairs to bring people in here, but I think we'll try to keep as many of the trees as we can. Working on our stormwater management plan, just Aircon, and consulting agent, and COSWA, which is the Association of Metro Communities Stormwater Administration. I'm sure if you remember Bruce said anything about this, or how much he loved it, how much we needed it. It's a little bit intense for what our actual stormwater are. We decide the population, where we'll do it. We work with the Kyle Engineering Group on the library roof, try to get some ideas for the drains on the library roof, for the building, those all those leaks. So we're not sure whether it's just drains that leak or the library roof that leaks, but now we can find one coming anywhere that wants to get under the roof, and goes scaffolding, molding, anything inside, it's spread to another place. So just because there's a leak here today, that we're down the metal, it's not mean that leak will be here the next time. It could be over there or back in there. So, we did budget that capital improvements, and we can study on that, we'll get the water key out, or get the competitive bid as well too. We're still working on the failure to pay ordinance. Matt Love and the judge are having trouble disagreeing on which one's right. So they're working that out. We should have that for here in a few months. I think November is our cutoff. We will get that taken care of. And on Friday, September 22nd, Oklahoma County Commissioner will be here at City Hall at 9 o'clock. So we'll call District Roadshow. We're going to visit the local municipalities. So if you want to attend that, it is Friday, September 22nd at 9 a.m. So you're on that. Auditors have been here this week working on the audit, and kind of taking from bed, they across the hall with her, just watching 5 people sit there crunching numbers all day is pretty exciting for the city. We put together a plan committee for the annual employee appreciation and Christmas dinner. Got representatives from every department, and they have some good ideas. So, I'll keep you all posted on that. It will not be a day that's not going to be like a jealous to forgot about it until the last minute.
Sounds like a true story under that.
Well, I can run a grill, but I don't do that. So I'll let the professionals do that, and our goal on that is to get as many employees volunteering there as possible. In the past, children have been an issue, but some pay daycare to come to their appreciation dinner. So a lot of times, the kids, macaroni and cheese, chicken nuggets, are pretty affordable to plate. A couple of coloring books, let them run them off, and try to get the food. I did send something out, I also said it in front of you, just kind of a general summary for the charter review meeting. You can look at what they're charging, the purpose, the ideal design, and what the tenure, or what the process will be, how many meetings would be. And a little bit of explanation, because everyone knows what a charter is, how important it is, the background history. So if you have anything that you add to that, please let me know. I'll get that cleaned up and start having a call for nominations on that. We do have a vacancy that we are trying to fill for the utility billing clerk, and that we did the first review of applications on August 30th. So we have that position filled, and we are making some changes on utility billing. We pay with automatic bank draft, pay online, on the check, kind of person drop off the check, but we're not going to take credit card payments over the phone anymore. More as a protector for our customers. we do have a lot of to do that, but it does take a long time and energy to get the card number, repeat that, the rest of the damn traffic that we have in there, just take their time. So in fact, we demo with Express Bill Pay, change it with Express Bill Pay.
We delayed it to September.
So we're looking at a third-party source that can help us process this a lot better than what we're currently doing. Website is moving along well. Probably November release date to get that one out. Shannon has been our lead on that. She's done an amazing job. And something else I think. The online convocation, they say that they have us online 30 days. So I'll go through the download, cookie, 25 different PDFs and looking for a search feature and want to do it all at once. I think that will save a lot of time for staff, and a lot better ease of access to information to our residents, builders.
I'll be interested to know how many builders showed up with more information at hand than you're having to correct or go through as you're going through that process with them. Makes it a little bit better.
I think it'll definitely improve it. You'd be surprised how many times they fill applications and not able to take on them. That's what happens. Okay.
And we're looking at some new software for the building and code department, with iWork, working with ACOG, and Target Gear sponsoring, our assessment program. I think the license expired in 2012, last support for it in 2006. I think it might have been some Bruce Bills. I don't remember.
It was.
Hell, it's a little, yeah, we've got our money's worth.
Yeah.
So, hey, that's $5 for this. Basically, let's say developer, builders, permit online, license online, plans online. That gives us live date time stamp, and not only drop it off the box, in the library, get it, we have it on the decision, we don't have it. I think we'll facilitate things a lot smoother. Other than that, got my son moving into LSU, and my daughter in softball season. Double header this afternoon. On a new turf field. Any of your questions, any of my questions?
Would you go over one more time? No, that's okay. Thanks. Anyone have any questions? I wanted to ask Ken a quick question. I keep going by, Acre Road. Do, okay.
Yeah, Mr. Gaddy's Pizza.
Yeah, I live in Cooks, my name is that. Used to be the old movies, any complications or anything going on?
Now they're still shooting for a September 12th opening. So mid-September.
Possible venue location for the Christmas and holiday.
If anybody hasn't seen, drive by, which is what it is. It's a pizza. Is it kind of on the same menu,
I think so. If you recall from the day, there used to be a Showbiz Pizza on Northwest Expressway.
Yeah.
Where it was pizza, arcade games, and then they had like a little movie theater that showed you old time cartoons. That's pretty much what it is. So,
it's gonna be really nice, and I think that's what we're. Yeah, I wish we could plan, we have responsibility. Maybe we're figuring out okay.
What's the name of that?
Like spaghetti,
Mr. Gaddy's Pizza.
Okay, the board, this is, time for the council to say anything about it. Bring up to the board. Start with, bring out.
Oh, we're gonna skip Jeff?
Oh, okay. Well, I don't have, any specific, comments other than, I'm a news buff, news and history buff. And one thing I wanted to share with the citizens and council is that, there's a lot going on in the world right now. And one of the things that came to my attention recently was a story about an employee in, right outside Los Angeles that was murdered.
for with having, an LGBTQ flag flown outside their school. And it was disturbing at best. It pained my heart because what I always knew, and that is that hate is not, it's not something that needs to be heaped up. And people, that type of hate has been applauded and fed. The scenario about you have the sheep and the wolf, and the one that grows is the one that you can eat. Well, that wolf has been fed for a long time, it's very strong. So I just, for that family, and just the thoughts of, it's a small town, it's outside of LA, you know, and I felt like that person, that woman was a beautiful ally to that community, and for her life to be taken that way was more than disturbing. And so I just wanted to bring that to the city of the village because we are a small community and we want to be better for one another and better to each other. And we have a few rules growing right under our noses. And anytime you see the word not woke, you kind of know that that is something, the opposite of woke. And woke these days, the definition has been, it's been downplayed. But I know what it really means when you say not woke. It means either not black, or it means not color, or equity and inclusion. And so my whole life has been, I'm here because of opportunities in my life. My parents, I told y'all this the night I got elected, or the first night I sat here. I'm here because my parents told me I could do what I wanted and what I believed I could. And I believed it, and I still believe it. So I just wanted to bring that to you because I know that there is a way going on this, and I want you to be aware of it.
A couple of different things, and she was on another. Kids out of that. I'm trying to work on the yoga deal that seems to just fall, probably been a tough summer for us. We're going to try to get back on that and make sure we get back on the right path on that deal. I think we need to hold me on handle it. We're going to make it more attractive and everything. I said, I don't know any city to do more to help that along. I said, everybody's shelters are full. A lot of people adopted animals during COVID, and then found out that they take a lot of care and then kind of dumped them off in the city. So we're doing what we can, and then occasionally you've got this dog flu that comes in and shuts everything down for a while. So we're doing what we can on that one. That's all I got.
We have three options.
Right.
So, what we take care of
Yeah.
No. Go get a dog.
I heard all say yes. Two quick questions, I guess. Dave, I don't know if you know this answer, but back to the jail conversation, I was thinking, what is the average time we look at somebody when we have them in court process and on their way or on their way back?
And it depends on, or
I've been talking to Sean about this here, so stuck in a rut on this. We just gotta get creative and try to think through how long we're going to set bails at. I just don't.
I'd encourage you to visit directly with Chief Lincoln.
Yeah.
And, that is, we we have a holding cell, we keep someone,
No, I don't.
and we would rather do that until they can.
I-
So get out of here, we don't make it happen to, we would rather not press bond, partial bond, pinky swear under library.
No, I-
Occasions that whatever we try to do, there's someone that needs to be, who's a danger to self and public.
I don't think we disagree with
Yeah.
that. Yeah, some people, literally, that's like the hell on earth. My thought was the charter review committee, I thought that was good. They challenged the council to come back with nominations for the next meeting. So we can get this thing rolling. We want to get on the ballot for the next year. What? For the city charter. For the city charter. I think by the next meeting, maybe we can set that as a goal for us, cover some things, or have a meeting today by then. It's gonna start somewhere. Carl's speed ups, still missing. I don't, I'm afraid that if I were somebody took them over the airport, I want that. And then I was, noticed a couple of times driving down May, at the stoplight at Lakeside. Really loves a good delay. And I know we've had this issue before with it, you guys noticed that.
That's my stop, it gets me on there.
I know.
I love that song.
Man, there were a lot of cars sitting there waiting for the green left arrow to turn off, so everybody else can go straight down May. So
Back up, the road goes on.
Like, it's, yeah,
Because traffic patterns are changing with the school starting.
that might be it.
I think,
Right.
that could have some impact on that.
Well, actually, this last one was Saturday, so. I'm gonna go to school on Saturday. Anyway, I'll say those my comments. What background issues.
Were you serious about the speed humps?
They're not, they took them down and they repaved.
Oh.
No, I was just, yeah, well, yeah, I know you go speed humps over there too, so I'll put you on that list. Somebody saw them sitting over public works and went, my word. Anyway, we love that, Carl, so, yeah, nobody sold. The employees did the job.
There are like a few of those that are being impacted.
Yeah, but now it's all worked
I
out.
think that was in the contract, so.
So, get them out there, or I'll go out there with you, that's all.
Hey, David. We're gonna throw, tomatoes at you for making your plate so long. Is that okay? Those are fresh. Dave's back. Your village board meetings.
No, not at this point. Just to let you know, been over at ACOG, they're here now for the fall, so.
Any programs?
Nothing. I talked with, John Sharp, who's the transportation guy, and he said, the request about sidewalk crossing is, will only receive a lukewarm embrace, but it would have been more eagerly accepted, had they put it up at the time, but they wanted to come back. But he did say, if it's us in Oklahoma City, he'll talk with that will probably be more present. He said, of course, we would be a part of coming as a part of that discussion as well. The idea of getting people from the village over to the amenities of Kepler is good for our city, it's good for us. And in reality, he said, don't expect any more reaction.
Yeah, it's not anybody else's needs, so.
Good.
So there's nothing new on cost notification. Last company, you all asked for an update on the civil case. The federal case is still under the stage pending, decision between the parties about whether to proceed. After, Australia's criminal case is dropped. I have not received any updates beyond that.
Okay, and, federal believe we're spending our money wisely.
For the most part, yeah.
For the most part, that's all I need, that's good. Okay, well, let's move on to, anything else, guys? What we've got? Bruce in here to talk on that. Again, I'm gonna bring up this, resolution, let me do some reading and kind of set the stage, but this is, I'm gonna read this and I'll say, if you have something to add, and then we'll go into discussion a little bit. We have, this is a resolution pertaining to the final plat, habitat plan, and unit development, in addition to the city of the village, whereas the planning and zoning commission of the city of the village has received an application for amenity, I'm gonna stutter for a minute, to approve the final plat and replat for the, PUD following the Stride property, in the city of the village, Oklahoma City, Oklahoma County, Oklahoma. It goes on to describe in, all kinds of 25 lot lines and all related and things like that, so if you're interested in the exact description, it's written in the resolution, we got a copy up here. It does contain about 28,987 square feet for 0.06654 acres, more or less. And what has been going on is this final plat is in compliance with the habitat plan unit development, design statement, and subdivision regulations of the city as approved. And whereas the city's consulting engineer has reviewed the plat and recommends approval of the plat, final plat, drainage improvements, accepted by the developer, and planning and zoning commission has approved resolution PCO 717/2023, making a recommendation to the city for the final plat, and therefore we'll take a vote by the city council after we listen to everyone's visit. Proposed final plan for habitat plan development will either be approved by the city council as submitted, denied by the city council, or approved by the city council with amendments attached. That's the process that we're going to vote on. So that's David, if you have some comments before.
One caveat of the document that you have in front of you is dated the 21st day of August 2023. I didn't get an update of the slide deck prior to.
We're going to open it up for discussion, and like I said, if you guys would, what's impressed me along the journey we've had here is the way everyone has really, for the most part, been treated with respect. We appreciate this council because we see some things that come through us that we wish we did a lot like what we've seen with you guys. You've done a great job. We appreciate all of your comments, your hard work, both groups, one board, one not board, has really done a bang-up job. As a city council, we can't make decisions unless we have kind of information that you guys give us. We appreciate it, and again, I'd like to say that the first vote was 4-1, will be approved. Habitat and amenities presentation, and given the opportunity to go on and develop PUD. This has been approved by the planning commission, and it has all of the documentation has been approved. All the engineers have signed off on it, ours and habitat and amenities. So all these documents wrapped up where we are today. And if you want to go on and visit, have some discussion, I would ask that we've heard a lot of the discussion, so if we could just kind of summarize it if you're talking, or let's keep it 3 to 5 minutes. I have 5 people going over a little bit, I will make a little notice. In any event, I don't mean to make light of it, if you understand where I'm coming from, you see a lot of different things going on here. So we'll deal with anything that comes up as it comes up, but we appreciate you guys all being here to visit. I think what we'll all open up with now is that this group. You have some things you'd like to talk about? State your name again.
Sure, David Rocks, 522 Collinsford Drive, on behalf of the applicant. We have Habitat with us. We also have representatives from Johnson Associates, who is the civil engineer, for this project. So real briefly, I think what you're going to hear from a lot of folks is regard to covenants. Specifically, covenants are not something that's within the purview of the city council. The reason being that covenants are a private contractual matter where the parties to the covenants are able to enforce them. The covenant that you're going to hear about specifically, the city of the village is not a party to that covenant. Now, with that said, I think it is important that you have a full picture of it when it does come up. When you read the covenants, it's interesting because everywhere throughout the covenants, it does say this restriction does not apply to lot 25 in block 9. Lot 25 is the lot that is subject to the rezoning application that was approved and now this final plat. Final plats, preliminary plats, two very different things. A preliminary plat arguably has some element of discretion that exists for cities when they're looking at it, whether it be design, whether it be compliant with ordinances. When it comes to a final plat, that's really not the case. Once we get to a final plat, it's really a ministerial act if the plat complies with the city's applicable regulations and ordinances. To be clear, when you look at your subdivision regulations under chapter 25, division 2, section 25-10 sub F sub G, it says F, if you were going to disapprove, the reasons for disapproval shall refer specifically to those parts of regulations and or ordinances with which the plat does not comply. As the mayor read in the resolution, there is not a single part of this plat that fails to comply with any regulation or ordinance that exists for the city of the village. So what that tells us is by very definition of your subdivision regulations, there is no discretion whatsoever to deny this plat. There is a case directly on point. It's a Supreme Court case of the state of Oklahoma. It's called Kelly versus Beckman. What it says in paragraph 2 and 3, it has long been a breach of the 14th Amendment to empower the city at its absolute unrestrained discretion to give or withhold permission to a property owner to use his property in any lawful manner in compliance with zoning ordinances and other reasonable legislative requirements. Decision or Legion holding there is no discretionary act contemplated by statute requiring approval of a plat as a condition to its recordation when such plat meets all rules and standards and thus conforms to a city ordinances. If approval is necessary only for recordation, then approval is ministerial. Developers who have satisfied all legal requirements are granted mandamus to compel the municipality to approve the plat. Finally, back to your subdivision regulations, what this is telling us under section G is, before recording the plat, it shall be submitted to the city council for approval and acceptance of the public ways and service of utility easements and land dedicated to public use. So what that's telling us is your code of ordinances and subregs are directly on point with the city of Bethany and what they were dealing with this plat. The city of Bethany denied this final plat despite it complying with all regulations and ordinances, and the state Supreme Court rejected that and said you can't do that. The legislative discretion that exists to talk about density exists within the confines of the zoning case, not when we're all the way to a final plat. I know drainage is going to be a big topic of discussion, so I want to turn it over to Tim Johnson. Tim Johnson's done a detailed drainage analysis. Your city engineer has reviewed his analysis. I believe confirmed the items that are contained within his analysis. We comply with each and every provision of your drainage ordinance, and therefore we believe we check all boxes required of the final plat. We would ask for your approval. I'd be happy to answer any questions, or we turn it over to Tim, and then we both can answer any questions you might have.
Tim Johnson, Johnson Associates. I've been before you guys many, many years.
Speak up, please.
Try to talk a little louder, is that better? Okay. So you're familiar with the site. We met out on the site with Councilman Bennett and Councilwoman Moore late last week. As a result of that meeting and hearing the concerns our surveyors came out and put pins in the ground so that we could, get an exhibit put together that kind of shows where it was going to be, instead of me just pointing and waving my arm. So as a result of that, here's the site plan. I think most of the concern was relative to this unit and its proximity to the creek. You all have a 50-foot drainage easement that was platted years ago. Your channel is the storm public drainage channel, lies with 50-foot easement, 25 on our side, 25 on the other side. The unique thing about this plan is that the drainage easement or the lot lines goes to the center of the easements, which doesn't happen anymore. We do common areas because of blue line issues with the Corps. So this is old enough to not have been subject to the Corps of Engineers review. So what happens is that water, hydraulics, the water that flows north to Hefner, is generally contained within the channel. There are some low spots I pointed out to in the meeting in the field that I could look across there and say, over time, some of that field that hasn't been built on is eroded, it's low. And I think I said in the field, I wouldn't be surprised during a heavy rain if water back up in there. The pastor of the church was kind enough to share some pictures from 2018 where that's exactly what it did. It was out on the channel bank in that low area right by that lake, which is right in east. So our plan, well, you'll see it on this, I'm sorry. Our plan, you can't, it's really dark right here, but to meet your ordinance, you have mandatory detention. And so we've done the detention analysis. We submitted that information to your city engineer, Mr. Dundick. We had his comments back. These were his pictures. He actually went out there and took pictures on the site and used these pictures to send me a note saying, we want you to do check this, and check this. So that's his notes out of his report. And these are his pictures where he made comments to me. So I think there was some concern in the field when we met that maybe Mr. had been out there, but he hadn't. And so part of our design includes detention on the far east side. And so this image will kind of show you where that house will be, the white block. These pins are reflective of the private drainage easement that shows up on the site plan. And the blue represents the detention pond area. And so what will happen is, as this gets built, and there's some grading done, and there'll be some grades that will need to be raised near the channel to allow that channel to stay within its banks and stay within your easement. When that work is done, we're going to have a detention area that will just be a full grass area along the entire backside, or west side of the project. That'll detain water, and we will set our finished floors of these new units, not based on the elevation of the creek, which is a normal requirement, but your ordinance requires us to be a foot above the 100-year in the pond. And none of the pond can be in the floodplain. And so we'll be above the channel with the pond. Our houses will be above the detention pond with their finished floors. I'm very comfortable that this is going to work fine. We did a separate hydraulic analysis of the creek because it was the information that was available on that was done probably in the mid to late 70s. So hydrology has changed a little bit since the 70s, and so we went and redid the hydrology of the entire basin and established that the 100-year storm stayed within the easement. The storm picture that the pastor had shared was from a very large storm in 2018 that ended up flooding a lot of area around the village. I know of 6 houses on 112 by Harris Hall flooded that had never flooded before, never. So it was estimated that was a 500-year program. So this is the last picture I'll share with you. So where we were out on the side, there's a fence post. You can't see it, it's in the trees. But that's where it's at. And then his fence goes for distance and is covered in the trees. We're gonna be 5 feet off of that fence line, which is a normal side yard setback. We're gonna be 6 foot off of your easement. And basically, we're gonna be 31 feet from the center of the creek back. And that's the closest unit. And so, just kind of lining up comments on this. We've done the detention calculations, we've calculated the channel, hydrology, and we feel very comfortable that we can build these, they'll be safe. What we do in the channel will not cause an increase in flow, or even a rise in the elevation of the water upstream or downstream. And I've been doing this a long time. This is a pretty straightforward solution.
Tim, just curious, how long have you been doing projects in the village? And how many projects have you done?
I started working in the village before Bruce started.
That's
Yeah, so we designed the new boulevard. And we designed all the retirement homes, ponds that are out in front of those are all my handiwork. And then we did all the subdivision where the apartments were, did all that work. We've been on and off, little projects. We're currently working with the city on their civil case at Lakeside as your expert.
And how many projects in the village have been an issue with the engineering that's been done?
None that I'm aware of.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You guys have that.
Well, if you brought it up, what about the drainage at the far end of the, near the church, that's part of that pond? We have significant drainage problems coming off of Sunny and then going under Greystone and with that pond. All the ponds here.
You're talking about the flooding that happened on Sunny?
We'll talk about I'm talking, it's been a while, but there's a lake here, or pond, or whatever you want to call it,
The real ravine?
yeah, well, the vineyard, yeah, but between it and living and there's no south side of it. But anyway, drainage coming in from west of there. I was just coming on the council that there were some drainage issues there, and that was that beyond what you did, I mean, physically beyond you were, or.
Well, yeah, it's not within this land piece that we started with, which the far west line is the backside of the. I did not do the subdivisions behind the oil well side.
Yeah, no, it was strictly a something, and they had to do, I think the money, the water was originating on Sunnymead and going underground and coming out around Greystone into those ponds. And there was a backup right at the west end of the pond area that was causing problems.
Nobody was talking about it.
Okay.
I think that was outside our scope when we did that 30 years ago. But we have stepped in and acted as your engineering representative for other developments in the village. Because Brian Kuhn, with a few dollars, if he did a private development, he couldn't review his own work. Bruce would call and we would make the review. Several small additions over by Lakeside that we reviewed. I go back and forth with Brian's office, so making those little additions.
I do have, one question, based on what you were just stating, what projects you were part of. So you weren't part of the vineyard development and the ravine,
Is that the big pond you're talking about?
oh, I'm just.
Yeah, so the big open channel.
Yes, sir.
That splits those two additions.
Yes, sir.
Help me with the name.
Oh, the street.
So as part of that, when we came in as our developer was approved by the city to be the developer of record for that land. We helped the Johnston family redevelop that. They've been a client of mine for over 4 years. And we did a study that we sent to FEMA. Because of what we did in that channel, the work we did in that channel, it alleviated flood insurance requirements for 100 residents in the village upstream of Auckland. So that neighborhood that has the street on both sides of the channel, there was over 100, I think it was 138 homes that had to buy flood insurance because of the elevation FEMA had established. We reworked all that. And with the improvements that the Johnstons did in that channel, it caused that elevation to go down and function better. And that alleviated flooding in those neighborhoods.
Thank you.
Anyone else would like to speak? No. Okay. Any other questions? Residents who got there and they were. Yes. Like to speak? Yes, please.
Mayor says, I do confess, I don't typically speak before city council or whatnot, that's not my area of practice. But having listened to the representation made by my very excellent colleague at council, he discussed the issue of covenants, and he's correct. Covenants run with the land, and it's not within the preview of city council. They are done in order to keep the area uniform, beautiful, and consistent. But that is another subject that's not for you. And I do confess, I haven't had a chance to go through the engineering that was provided. But what I do know is that we do in City of Village have an ordinance that requires each PUD to be minimum of 7,000 square feet. If we are going to have 4 PUDs, we need a total of 28,000 square feet. It's a simple ordinance. And it is there for a reason. It wasn't picked really out of, the number didn't just appear. It was argued, it has been debated. It has a purpose and a reason. It includes safety, it includes conformity, it includes beauty and consistency within the residents. Now, initially, when Johnson and Associates submitted their plan, they specifically stated the size of their lots. Now we have 4 PUDs, we need a total of 28,000 square feet. When they submitted their plan, they stated that the site is 25,752 square feet, being short of what they needed, 28,000 square feet. Now, that was brought up to the city's attention and circulated. I don't know if it was done artfully or not sure. But by the time the vote was taken on by March 23rd of 23, that area magically changed and became 28,801. Now, while a drainage is an engineering art and can come and have varying ways of designing and remedying a potential problem, calculating the area of a plot based on its legal description is not an art. It's one number and it doesn't change. Now, the same engineering firm that provided the first number, by the time you had the vote, changed that number to 2,801. It means and I believe in order to meet the specification. And since that time, after the PUDs were approved, that the final plan states that the number has not gone up even more, and it's 28,984 feet. Now, the differences may be minor, but the fact of it is, this is a change. And let's be clear, I mean, I've been retained by one or two, I don't know, a couple of residents, and we don't have the deep pockets, and they don't have the ability to do all the money that can be spent in terms of presentation. But they want the city to know that this is not, or their actions and their questions and their issues are not against Habitat for Humanity. They welcome the development by Habitat for Humanity. They want Habitat for Humanity built in the area. Everybody loves Habitat for Humanity. That is not the concern, that is not the need. What is their concern is for them to be provided with same deference that we have to and the city have to. And we all have Habitat for Humanity. They have concerns too. And one of them is, if you have two lots, you should build two homes. Nobody says you are not welcome. You have two homes. You can build four, especially if your area doesn't meet the code. And again, Mr. Savick knows more about this than I would ever know. At a minimum, and before we move on, we have checked with the county assessor. We checked with the county assessors and asked, what is, based on the legal description that we have, what's the area, what's the square footage of these two particular lots? And we were provided with a number of 24,393 square feet. That's approximately 4,000 less than they needed. Not a little, lot more. And just to be sure, a few weeks later, a month later, we called this down and said, please recheck this, because the engineering firm's numbers are not matching yours. They rejected, and confirmed their numbers. Again, the numbers cannot change. You cannot look at it by the two different ways. An area of lot remains constant. And we would like to ask the city to place this on an agenda and let us come argue and have the county, somebody from the county come and testify to it, in order to make sure compliance is made with that record. And as the city knows, section 24-208 is a specific. It states any deviation from the plans of a planned unit development submitted at the time of rezoning shall constitute a violation of rezoning, and changes in plans shall be resubmitted for review following the same procedure required in the original adoption of the plan. Well, since the adoption in March, on 17/23, 3-4 months later, the number and the size of the lot has changed. They need to resubmit a new plan. Let us come, argue, and put it to the board and hear it. And if they need to ask the church to donate or sell them more and change the size of the lot, that's fine. But every member of this community is subject to the rules, and so it's Habitat for Humanity. There should not be there should not be an approval until such time that this matter is resolved. And once that's done, again, or they can, the alternate can come before you and ask for variance. Alter your rules, make it less than 7,000 square feet. But as we have it today, they have changed the plans and pursuant to the rules, they need to submit. Thank you.
Can you give us copies of those, please?
Copies of it.
The change.
Right.
So you just want copies of what you were talking about,
You can show on screen.
Well, no, the original
PUD application that was submitted was short of the minimum size requirement. Habitat voluntarily withdrew that application, which is why the first scheduled hearing was canceled. And then they got property donated by the church to increase the property size above the 28,000 square feet. So what you suggested they did, they should do, they already did in March when they received.
But that doesn't change the fact that after March, in 1723, they increased that number again one more time. And that's, again, a change. Now it's bigger size, and it meets the requirement, and you're right. But then again, the law provides any change to your benefit or to your detriment requires resubmission of an impact, and you start fresh and new. And that affords my clients a chance to verify whether or not the habitat for humanity is actually complying with all the rules. So I'm not asking for rules, and I'm not even arguing, they may be correct, and the size will be more than it. But that doesn't alter the fact that modification was made after the vote anyway.
That was, I mean, the modification after the vote was really like the preliminary plans stated the area included, it was an estimate, included plus or minus. Once they went and did all the engineering for the site and actually calculated the land area with a survey attached, they did a final.
So yeah, Jeff's exactly correct. At the time we did the preliminary plat, it is preliminary, and there were flexibilities. Once that came through and was approved, we then began to spend the money to finish all the survey work and prepare the final plat, and that's what's before you. That's what this application is based on, is that final measurement that was done in the field by our surveyor. And so there's always a flexibility between preliminary and final, because preliminaries require a boundary survey, the final plat requires a boundary survey, which is equivalent to an analysis by state statute, and that's where the change.
I have a question. Is that, so that number for when it's approved through zoning to do the PUD, it's not required to have actual numbers?
The legal description remains the same, but the area calculation is an approximation.
Repeat that?
The area that's listed in the PUD is almost always an approximation. Because they haven't done the survey work, the detailed engineering work, with final calculation of the area. That's usually done between final PUD, between preliminary PUD and final PUD.
But the preliminary was stating the actual smaller number,
It's a very, very minor change, a couple hundred square feet.
but my question is the preliminary or the actual zoning vote was voted on with the smaller number?
It was voted on with an approximation.
The reason that the county doesn't show it exact yet is because we haven't recorded the plat. Once we record the plat, the county will adjust their record to reflect the actual recorded plat, legal description and area.
Jeff, of all the PUDs to be done, that's pretty common practice.
Yeah, I mean,
your average.
Yeah, when we submit a zoning application, unless your zoning actually existing model, you don't have city engineering.
If developers are good for that, I mean, that, if the city says we're gonna move forward on it, it's also on that, so that makes sense why it would be good.
I wasn't here, but did they present to the council with the initial number?
No, they would do it at the same time.
And so when was the next meeting?
So the hearing that was canceled, I think was supposed to be held in March. I was, no, April 17th was that actual, the final one.
Or 17?
The first one, I think, was scheduled for the second meeting in February, the first meeting in March.
I think 320 was failed, got down.
Yeah, they got canceled very quickly after the notice went out to the residents because,
Well, I'm just wondering, was the two of us sitting here when we finally voted for the?
No.
It was before,
both their initial submission that was withdrawn and the resubmission that has hearing adoption. We'll go before you guys.
And the vote that was made with the smaller number for zoning and the board and the council was made on the same day, wasn't it?
There was no vote for small numbers, they withdrawn. So when they would do their application, they only got the first.
The PUD was voted on the same day.
The preliminary plan and the budget were on.
So, but it wasn't, you can't submit it on, well, how long before the vote was taken?
At least 20 days. I don't have an exact date submission.
I don't recall the exact date of submission, but it was notice. So
Yeah,
at least
it was
20 days.
re-noticed, it was treated as a brand new application.
And that doesn't alter the fact that even after that vote, that area has changed. Regardless, they have increased that number by 300 feet thereafter on 770. Which is a change. Now,
Sorry, that's standard practice though for any development that comes with the council. That happened. I don't know how many times I've done the council, but that final number isn't in that application that we look at to approve, because the developer finally spends money to survey the land and get the final accurate number until we approve them going forward to do it. So, yes, it changed a few hundred square feet, plus or minus, and that is when you guys come and get the real survey, which then is turned over to the county once this gets approved. That's how all those steps work. So I don't know,
The legal description has not been involved.
Yeah.
So since the second submittal has always been about 126 feet.
So did you, when this came out, did you bring it back to the church and then they said yes, whatever the tax, fill that line? So they were immediately approved.
The question is that this is generally going to change from an approximate to an exact, or like, is that accurate?
Go ahead.
Dave, can we go to the one that the invite gave you like a flat size? I'll try to get through this pretty quickly. Running out. Yes, Jack Jeffrey Christie. I'm on lot 24. Let's see, that one shows the subdivision one. I'm going to go to the one that starts with the legal description from the church. Yeah, that's it. Anyway, oil and gas landman, run title for years and years and years. Anyway, so let me start off with, this is the warranty deed that was recorded in January 24, and it's from the church. And it goes there in those two lots. Okay. Then containing the exact number of acres, more or less. I don't think that's not unusual. Okay, let's move on to the next. But that's what they own when they started all these procedures. And that has not changed through today's date when I checked the records about noon today. That is what was deeded to the church to have had, what they own. Okay, let's go down to the next one. There's something on there you want to verify. Okay. Oklahoma County Assessor takes their legal description of what they physically own. And they came up with a calculation of 0.56 acres. And I just converted that down with my handwriting and using the standard acres to square feet. That's 24,303 square feet. Okay, well, I'm looking at that and I'm going, the village zoning code say you need 28,800. All right, so let's move on to the next one. And I called them up and said, we've got three different acres and square feet on the plats. County assessors got 0.56 acres. None of them matched. Didn't tell them anything about the story. I said, I'm gonna talk within one or the other, even if it turns out it's 9.9 of an acre or a whole acre. What's the right number? What do they physically own? Okay, you'll go to the next one, please. So they referred me to Rafael Valdez. And once again, I can go the whole story. I just need to know what's the right number. What do they own? So he went ahead and recalculated it. And a couple hours later, he called me back and said, yeah, it's 0.06 acres. And I'm like, well, I'm Jeff Christie, the landman. That doesn't carry any weight at all. And I just handed Habitat guys his worksheet that he emailed me and his email, so that we can verify. Back to, this is what they own. It's not the minimum size. You can't create a PUD larger than what you own. And so now we're looking at I think the original one that they did on 123. You can scroll just a little bit. I'm sorry, scroll down a little bit. I said it wrong. So just straight off of their information, it's 0.59 acres. I'm getting what you're saying about preliminary. Okay, well, that just got me wondering about the number of acres it is, in square feet. All right, so let's go to the next one. Still don't have any other warranty deeds, special warranty deeds to increase the amount of acres they have. The 0.56 you have out there could be wrong. That's why I gave you his information that went to me. If it's wrong, then I'm sorry, I'm wasting y'all's time. But that's twice the county says it's reported. This is what they submitted on, Habitat submitted on 4/17. And amazingly, it's 1 square foot larger. And they haven't got any additional acreage submitted, and the PUD was approved. So if they did not have 28,801 feet, they put it on the map, you all relied on it, like the village city council relied on it, and voted. Yes, I saw that there, and it's correct information. Then you all just voted in the PUD. They are 4,000 square feet less. The PUD shouldn't be affected, it should be voided. They should be able to start over and redo it. And might win everything. Don't know. Let's go ahead and scroll down, please. And this one's just looking at this, what they call the final plat, where they added some more parking in it. And we'll go down some more. And in there, we all see this part before. Good long description, not the description of what they own. You can post this out there all you want. There's 28, you exceeded the 28,800, that's all fine and dandy. You don't own it. Somewhere along the way, prior to approving the PUD, you need to own it. I cannot go take, I was told that, I'm naive, I was told that since they created the PUD, why don't we just go into the council and do a motion and undo it? And I got kind of laughed at a little bit politely. And the answer was, Jeff, you don't own that land. So you can't have it reversed. Well, they own most of their land. But they're doing it, they're still 4,000 square feet short of what they physically own. And they put it into PUD. You did not own the whole thing. So therefore, I'm contending it should be vacated. And I think that should be put after you all have a chance to do your research, because I just walked in and just handed them the information. And you absolutely need to talk to folks down at the county assessment office. Agree? Not agree?
Disagree, but I'll.
Okay. All right. Anyway, so that's pretty much all I've got. One other final consideration as far as the lot size, just out of curiosity, does it matter that 1/8 of whatever they own is in the ditch? Is that reasonable? And you all are dealing with this stuff before. I mean, there's a minimum lot size. You can't stop it there, please. The green thing is the ditch, and I just cut out overlaid it. And more than 1/8 of it is in the ditch. Just do the cutouts and paste on top, just to kind of see where it's sitting. So if it doesn't matter to the council and the village zoning code, sorry to waste your time. Okay, that's what I have about the size, and I think that needs to be put on the agenda for the vote. Obviously not tonight. The talk. Yes.
So an applicant is entitled to zone property that they don't own. In fact, I would guess that 99%, every time I stand at a podium on behalf of a developer, they don't own the property. The PUD application that was withdrawn and then resubmitted covers the acreage needed to be eligible for a PUD in the city of the village. Now, within that legal description, there are two separate owners, the church and the piece that was already deeded to Habitat. The makeup of the ownership within the legal description is irrelevant to the discussion. All that matters under your code of ordinances is the minimum square footage necessary to be eligible for a PUD, which we meet. At the end of this, the church will donate that other piece and we'll close on it. At the time of application, it is irrelevant to who owns the land. The only thing that matters is how much land you have to be eligible for a PUD. End of story.
That's correct. As long as you have the, permission of whoever does not follow the law.
Sorry, yeah, somebody. Verify.
You look like a man in the Bible church. Or I serve in a church.
Okay.
I framed that wrong.
I do not. It is not my church.
You represent the church.
I know whose church it is. I serve there.
Good point.
My name is Pastor Steve Evans. I am the pastor of the church for 2 years. Yes, we have agreed that if this goes through and it's approved, that we will give them the rest of the land to do what has been proposed. Any questions?
That's too long. Everything else you want to say.
Pastor, that's really difficult.
Thank you. Pardon me?
Why can't you just build two then?
Two what?
Two houses. Because we'd all be happy with that.
It's not us. I understand that.
That's cause the problem, you guys.
Is there anybody else?
Hey y'all, Jessica here. I know we've all heard it a lot, but when something doesn't feel right in your gut, you can still speak up even though it's already happened. I'm not one to do confrontational things, so I kind of got pulled into this, because on the April 17th meeting, my partner wouldn't be able to make it because the notice said it's at 5:30 and he works in Chile. So I came to represent us. And originally, it kind of all meshed up, and it feels a lot that we kind of got misled here and there. Because in the original letter that we got, the cancellation notice, it included the planning and zoning commission hearing on it and the city council meeting on it. And said, both will be postponed, you will get a published one, which you publish on the website, and a new notice will be mailed. But the notice that we got only included the planning and commission. So that night, I planned on only going to the planning and zoning commission. So that night, on April 17th, it was a 3-3 tie, which meant that the motion failed to pass, which is a negative, so it failed. So then a majority of people on the side of the meeting ended up getting up and leaving because the motion passed. They heard on our community, on our street, everyone was smiling, everyone was leaving. I noticed there were people standing around still and sitting in the audience, so I was very confused. So I texted Landon, I was like, hey, I think there's another meeting I should stick around for. Nothing was mentioned like, hey, stick around for the next vote or stick around for the city council meeting. So I stuck around, and then that is when the city council went ahead and went with the vote and did the 4-1 and approved it. Even though, you know, our whole street, again, the signatures, everything was not heard or believed or whatever happened there. But our street, the people who live in this neighborhood, the people who breathe and walk and enjoy it and smile and get to know each other and have dinners and meetings, all of us together spoke up at this planning and zoning meeting that obviously made a difference because it did not pass. which a majority left, then we did not get to hear the full, thing because we were not made aware. And that kind of just feels sticky too, of why would that previous letters have both in there and this one didn't, semantics, but, our street, our neighbors, again, just want what's best for everyone, and that was originally always from day one house, one lot, maybe even 3 houses that face the street, so it looks like our neighborhood, that's all. Okay. Thanks, guys.
Sorry, what was your last name?
Urbanis, Urbanas.
Okay, anyone else?
So, my name is Laney Prather. I'm within the 300-foot zone that have received these notices. I'm going off script here, but a question that you guys should ask this gentleman here is of the Bethany one that failed and went to a higher court, was the drainage included there? Because it seems like the drainage is a very unique situation to the village. So I encourage you guys, or you to that's it. I didn't realize she was going to talk, so she kind of stole my thunder. I will not be redundant. I admittedly, until this made it to my back porch, I've admittedly been uninvolved in these things. However, I felt my neighbors were being not listened to, taken seriously, my radar went up. So I won't go into the detail again. There's a couple things. The more we dig, the more this thing gets postponed. You're like, where did this thing go sideways? There's multiple breakdowns. So communication, procedure, root cause analysis. I'm not sure if you guys have done one. There's a couple things I want to address, and for the people for it, I guess I would ask that you imagine this happening on your street. I think that's fair. So, this is called as a resident. I realize, by the way, you guys do a phenomenal deal. I don't show up because I trust your judgment. Like, that you guys do great projects, all great things. So we get the notice about the first meeting, okay? That's February, it's canceled, okay? I understand that, they're working out some details on it. We get a second notice. By the way, like Jessica said, the second notice only has mention of the Planning and Zoning Committee, no secondary vote. I know it's already been talked about. Documented. So procedural breakdown number 1. I get it, mistakes happen. That's okay. All right. So that's procedural breakdown number 1. That's okay. I realize new people are taking roles. I realize people weren't there. Again, I'm not out for heads. I'm just saying, as a resident, this is what went down. Okay. New notice goes out April 17th. Of that April 17th, you can still go. It has a draft on it for some reason, but the motion failed to pass. Okay, from that first meeting. And I keep looking back because I'm not sure if you were ever made aware of the street survey. I'm not sure if the pastor was made aware of how it went down to the residents at the surrounding area, within the 300 feet, within the major avenue right there. Okay, so I'm not trying to be mean. I'm trying to inform you. Okay, so at that meeting, a lot of things come up apparently. A few to note, I won't read through this, I apologize, I realize I'm taking a lot of time. It was actually a then city council member of the church, I now understand, who had the original idea, okay, to go from 2 lots to 4 lots. That's fine, I can have an idea. Petition was presented. Concerns of authenticity of the petition that all the neighbors signed, 35 plus signatures. Again, happily would have done 2 and maybe even 3 if you can donate and make it look like the rest. We're just against the small It is a first too, that you do a cluster, or the village does a cluster next to existing houses, okay? This is a first. So we would have been with making it look like the rest full of that we feel like we were cut off. That's what I'm getting at. Okay, I'm gonna see going fast. I'll try to refrain from opinion. Okay. So 35 plus signatures, there's some concerns brought up about the validity of those. Okay. After the short break, there was the first meeting, the second meeting occurs. That's the one that was omitted from the mailer. Okay. That's also the one that maybe we had a procedural communication breakdown that wasn't announced. Hey, guys, this is a hung vote. It was 3-3 because we didn't have a member here to make it 4-3 or which way or the other. We are meeting. You guys might want to stick around. Okay. At your house, your backyard, you might have wanted somebody to do that. Okay. All right. So it failed to pass, and then it gets reversed, as we all know. It was very interesting, back to procedural things that I think it would be wise to change. Sorry, I'm going so long. But this April 17th vote, we had a changing of the guards of the council members, okay? So the two council members on the left were not involved in that. Two of the ones that were involved, that did vote 4-1 from the meeting that was submitted, knew that they were on the way out. One of which, it was his idea for them to move from 2 houses to 4 houses. As a resident, you start to go, I don't know, man, this is kind of not adding up, okay? This is doesn't feel right, okay? So, procedural breakdown. I encourage you guys to do some kind of changing of the guard. When that happens, maybe make it 3 away. I don't know, you can't on the way out throw a Hail Mary, and maybe it lands, and it passes, and you guys, all of us here tonight, are left to clean up the mess, okay? That could be a real procedural change. Moving on, I'm closing, I promise. Then you have the changing of guard 2 weeks later, July 17th, what happens? Jeff, I appreciate the information. Used for the first time I heard the word supermajority, okay? I realize we're not well spoken. I realize that's obvious even in this moment, okay? Dave, Mr. Celestia, correct me if I'm wrong. At that point, you said the supermajority language will be on future HUD announcements or rezoning announcements. I was here. So that gets brought up. And again, I'm not trying to say anything. I'm just saying as a resident, that's great. I agree it should be on HUD announcements, this supermajority language. But that leaves us out of the conclusion of that. We're just left to take it on us, okay? So again, it also gets the communication breakdown that I think that could get addressed going forward to avoid this whole thing. This doesn't have to reach these levels. We can do civil, respectful communication and cut the snake off of the head before you have upset residents up here. Okay, so that really brings me to it. I encourage you guys to ask that question about the Bethany. Did it include survey drainage, or is that unique to the village? Thank you.
I would like to see.
I am Bruce McDermott. My property is listed under my first name, which is Charles, I'm at 938 Orlando. And Dave, could you bring up our slideshow, please? I want to talk this evening a little bit about water, erosion, and the impact of the
Dave, I think it's flooding.
yeah, right there, perfect. A little bit about water, erosion, future work that will need to happen to the ditch, and the impact that the habitat HUD will have, potentially could have on it. The first first slide there, that's from 2018, and that is, and I'll show you here in a minute, that creek is full. And you can see there that the manhole in the background is, I believe that the rim of that is the 100-year floodplain. So we've been close to it before. Next slide, please. That was at the church. That's about 70 or so yards north of the Habitat PUD. One of the things that my wife and I observed when we visited a Habitat community was there were lots of children, little kids, bicycles. This is the same, almost the same picture. It's just about 50 feet to the south of where the first one was taken, also during that time. But you can see, as you go towards the back of the photograph there, is full of water. And I'll show you how we can sort of estimate the depth of the water that is in that creek. Next slide, please. Again, you can see the water is filling the creek in towards the back of the picture. The white building is almost, it's not quite where the Habitat PUD will end up. It'll be a little bit south there, but you can see how much water there is there. Next slide, please. This is another picture from looking at it from the other direction. The creek is full. Next slide, please. Okay, now that's at Hefner Road. That's where that creek goes drains underneath Hefner Road. And I've got a photograph of Landon, and it'll come up sometime. Okay, that water right there is about, at where it flows underneath, that's about 3 feet deep, a little bit over 3 feet. Okay, the prior pictures that I'll show you, there you can see that is the depth. That's just a scaling of the size of that drain there. Okay, and this one was taken this week. Next slide, please. Okay. In 2019, this is across the street from my house. The city did a great stormwater project, and they added that 60-inch drainage pipe there on the right. Prior to that time, there was a lot of water that went a lot of places that instead of into this ditch. On Sunrise, on Northampton, on Orlando, that short segment of Orlando. This is great. The problem with this is that they are very much more efficiently dumping water into that creek. And if you'll go to the next slide, we've got considerable erosion. And this is in Rachel Jackson's yard. I'm going to let her speak to this, but you're looking at it from this side. The erosion occurred from the creek, from the other side. There's a piece of concrete that goes across there that the fence posts sit in. And I will say this, that backyard is not habitable for small children to play in. They'll fall through that. So that's going to be something that's going to have to be addressed. Some of it will probably fall to the homeowner, but the city is probably going to have to improve that drainage ditch. If you will back up one, please, Dave. Those two big pipes, it's like pumping a fire hose through a straw. The ditch is not adequate. It was, that whole thing was done in the late 50s or 60s, and so some work's going to have to be done there. Okay, next slide, please. And go on to the next one. This is more of erosion. That's also in 10509 Major Avenue. The same looking down. I'm going to let, okay, now you can see you see the concrete drainage that runs up from the lower right corner up to where those two pipes empty out. You see that massive erosion that's occurring there about halfway up the picture? That's going to continue. I predict that's going to continue. Next slide, please. That's it. That's right. Okay. Well, I put them together and I tore them apart. I put them together and got lost along the way.
you know, there's two further things. One, when that drainage ditch is going to need some construction repair, it's gonna be tough to do if your house is sitting on where it needs the drainage, repair. And the last thing I wanted to say is, you know, we've had a lot of discussion about this. We didn't have to go through all this if we had stuck with build 2 houses and not 4. Thank you.
Tim, those are all pictures, right? So the presentation, what would be your comment on that?
Well, I didn't see all these, but I saw a couple of them. The box culvert was functioning like I expected under that intensity of the storm. That box was built as part of Hefner Road.
Did you speak up, please?
That box was built as part of Hefner Road, as part of, which unfortunately, Oklahoma City's still under the same ordinance that they were back then. But their design standard is you design for the 50, you overflow 100. That storm, we believe, based on another part of the city we worked on, very close, that picture right there is representing over the 100-year flood at that point. Meters in a row. Yeah, and we're having more frequent heavy rains or rains. Eventually there'll be changes in the ordinance to the design criteria. But that didn't surprise me, based on that.
Thank you to council and to local democracy for the chance to speak on this issue tonight. I'm about to. Sorry. I am. Dr. Rachel Jackson, I'm a professor at the University of Oklahoma, and I grew up here in the village.
Did you give me an A?
Oh, wow.
Did you give me an A?
I don't.
No, you're not old enough.
I didn't want to say it, but yeah. My parents were Jim and Connie Jackson, and they brought me home from the hospital to the house where I live now, on Major Avenue. I moved home 2 years ago to care for my mother in the last months of her life in our family home. And since her passing, I'm home with my brothers and now the trustee of my parents' estate. Modest as it is, they worked very hard to be homeowners in the village. They purchased their home in 1961. I'm here both as a person born and raised on Major Avenue and as a steward and guardian of my family property. I'm also an advocate for community and community building in my research for the university. I have years of experience in education and best practices between communities, institutions, and organizations. I'm such an advocate in this space as well. Community is a core value to me, as I know it is to all my neighbors. And I know it is to the church, and I know it is Habitat for Humanity. Community is a value to me in large part because I grew up here in the city of the village. I'm here to say the best way to build community is with community members. Last night, during an hour-plus-long discussion about our concerns regarding the fourplex proposed at the end of our street, it was amazing to have a house full of neighbors for the first time in years. Because of this issue, I'm reconnecting with people who have known me since I was young. Those Caesars over there. They've been my next door neighbors since I was, again, brought home from the hospital. And for that reason, ironically, I'm thankful to Habitat for Humanity because they are building community. Gathering in our home to talk about this issue and the impact it's going to have on our properties and our street. The efficiency of our street we have concerns about. You've got a fourplex, you've got 4 families living at the end of our street. People come in and out of the village on Major Avenue all the time, right? Those families will have children, in addition to other families on the street that have children. This is an issue worth considering, not to mention the watershed and drainage issues and the safety concerns that those entail. Each of us welcomes Habitat homes on our street. That's amazing in a middle-class community in Oklahoma City, that a street would welcome low-income housing. That's to our credit. We're not fighting Habitat homes at all. What we're asking is that they build in the manner that the rest of our homes have been built, to preserve the safety of our street, the safety of the families in those homes, the marketability of our houses, and that's a legitimate concern. Because neither the church nor Habitat included residents in discussions regarding the development of the two lots, we already feel alienated from the entire process. That's not a good start. There are sound reasons not to build more residences on that property, including safety concerns for the residents themselves, traffic concerns for those entering and exiting on Major Avenue, and the integrity of community development patterns, in addition to peace in the neighborhood. In short, that means the best way to build community, as I've said, is with community. I'm surprised to find myself in the position of defending myself and my neighbors and my property from Habitat for Humanity, the church, and potentially the council. 3 organizations I very much respect. All of us here welcome one house on one lot, consistent with the style and manner of the historic homes and as articulated in the covenants. When I added on the block concerns about the marketability of our homes and property value, this includes concern about real property damage. The drainage issue is not to be underestimated. In 2018, the floodwater, consistent with the pictures Mr. Webb provided, also impacted the back of my parents' property. Those are pictures, I believe 7, 8, and 9. Do you mind showing those again in the file, Jeff? There you go. Mine are 7, I think 7, 8, and 9, or 6, 7, and 8. There, back one. That's 9, that's 8, so then it must be 8, 9, and 10. Could you go to 8? Thank you. That goal, and you can see right here, I'll point here on pictures. Oh, there we go. So from about right here to about right here. This one's 12 feet, you add this, it's 16 feet. That hole right there is about 3 feet, it's the deepest, and this is going down the embankment into the ditch. Our backyard is washing away. If it wasn't for this cottonwood tree, we'd have a lot more damage. So waters were apparently diverted by gravel dumped in the creek, which goes to show you how just a minor change in the flow of that water damages the embankment, damages property for families that have lived on that street for generations now, right? So structural concerns, when the waters get heavy, the current forces them and any debris against the bank behind our house. Structural concerns with the proposed site and along that creek bank are real and monetary, and damage has already occurred for those of us downstream from the proposed site. Already. And building hasn't begun. So already got existing problems. I know this is easy to underestimate, right? Yes, the village, as I think it was said at the last meeting, is one big drainage problem. But nonetheless, we don't want to make existing problems worse. We do not. I should hope we don't. Any properties, regardless of foundation, built along the edge of the creek are most certainly at risk. The best way to safeguard those Major Avenue homeowners and the Habitat families that we are bringing in is one home per lot. While we are on the subject of the creek, and which I understand from historic maps is actually named Quail Creek, since moving home, I am shocked at its comparative neglect. As one of many children who grew up playing in that ditch, I can say over the last decade it has become terribly overgrown. It would be a much safer place for the neighborhood if it was maintained as it was at one time, as well as restored and reinforced in areas that currently need attention. All of us who met together
last night agreed that we welcome habitat homes in our street. I cannot emphasize this enough, and this is worth celebrating. It truly is. We would like to participate in the builds and in building relationships with the families, walking them to Major Avenue. This is the model Habitat, as I understand it, has used for generations. Many of us make regular donations to the organization. What confuses me is why this organization or the church would not wish to work with us, to include us, to listen to us, and to follow covenant, remain with the land, to protect us all. To do otherwise is to go against the value of property and community from the start. All of our interests are equal, both as families coming to us, who are investing in their own futures with these properties, and those families long invested in the homes already here. Let's give everyone the best. Let's let everyone be heard and respected in the process. That's the best way to truly build community and neighborly relations for generations to come. Thank you.
Is that our official cleanup here now? Not me.
My question goes back to the first question I asked in the very first meeting. What weight does this council put on the members of this community? I couldn't reiterate what she just said any other than what she just said. I've been here 30+ years. I have a child that wants to buy it. This will change their mind if we don't remain consistent with what we have.
Pastor Steve, back on, my name's Craig Owen, I'm 105 Baker. Craig Owen. I didn't get a card, I'm sorry. Okay, it's okay. Could you put up the proposed PUD, please? Dave, you have a chance? Just the layout. Back in April. Plat, just so we look more 4 houses, we're gonna look like in the area around it, that's all I need to see. Okay. They're asking to come. And I'll talk a little bit louder, hopefully everybody can hear me. And Pastor Steve, I want to ask you, back in April, I asked the question, well, you donated this land. Now we learned tonight that you donated more land to make the PUD whole. What's the story on this land right here? Do you know? The one in between this development and the church? Is it a church-owned property? Right. My understanding. Okay. Could that be donated and have 3 houses? So they're on par.
Can we keep things regularly? I can't see anything you do.
I know, we'd like to talk about this. Okay. Well, so here, so I'll ask a question.
Can you show us on our map?
Sure, I drew up there, come on. So my thought was, this slide I got to shoot away by log. Was this land right here from the church and this proposal, that would be for 3 standard lots. Right? And you have 3 standard lots, those would be on par with our house. That's all I'm saying. Charles, or Billy? Yeah. Comment, safety and economic, just, I'm not sure.
I still hear you.
Talking to my, last time they talked about the road going in between the houses. One did not meet specs for safety, the safety vehicles could not go through with cars parked on both sides. So we're developing a street that new homeowners, when they try to sell in the future, they're gonna tell people, you can live in this house, but if your friends come over, they can't park in front of it. And it could be a little bit of a moneymaker for the city because people sometimes ignore the signs and our police officers can give them parking tickets and make a little money off of it. But it doesn't make a lot of sense that the street does not meet specs for safety. And it's another thing, maybe this is
responsible for the street. So we're going to have homeowners that are possibly going to have a hard time just paying for their houses. And what's going to happen 15, 20 years from now, you're going to have holes in the streets, and maybe they're going to try to sell a house, and people are going to say, how come the village isn't fixing it? They don't own it. Whoever buys the house has to own it, and you guys are doing a lot of street repairs, so you know how expensive it is to repair the streets. So you can say, well, I'm not going to pay that much for a house, I can pay an extra amount to fix streets. So it's just additional problem, safety factor, safety vehicles can't get down if you park on both sides. There's no cul-de-sac turnaround like there is in most areas that you have a street like that. And just potential additional problems and economic problems for the owners when they try to sell their house.
Are you talking about the common drive?
Right. They go through. It's right in the, it's not wide enough. It doesn't meet safety specs for people to park in front of the house. So if there's not enough room in the driveway, they have to park on major avenues. So it's just a potential additional problem. I'm sure we'll work out. There's one place in big towns that you have to block, block away or something from your house.
It did add the extra parking there for that exact reason. In between the two houses for the north side. There were three spots for that exact reason.
In each driveway, is there a double wide?
I'm not saying it never happened. The adjustment was already made.
There's a little bit, but it's still, I guess, where they can't park in front of their houses. If there's overflow.
What about fire trucks? Can they turn around there? And waste removal. Parking, right, 12 poly cars? 4. There's 4 families.
Oh, there are 2.
Couple more recycle.
What's your name?
Willie Kelly. Kelly?
Thank you.
Thanks. Can I do 1 minute and then I'll,
If I could not stop you.
I have not heard enough about, this picture is perfect right here. The house lower left, is sitting there right on the ditch. I assume there's gonna be families with kids. And you saw in that one picture where the water's running down the street. If any kid, they're out there playing, slips in, it's gonna be something that's very attractive. It's fascinating to watch the river go. So you're gonna step out, I don't know, the back porch is, or patio, or what you want to go to the backside of you, those last 2 houses by the ditch, kids playing there, somebody slips in, it's gonna be a PR nightmare for Billy, Habitat, whatever. I know that's up.
I appreciate you guys, everybody, you guys did a great job, presentation, I heard a lot of presentations. Sitting on the council for 20 years, you guys did a great job. Good name, what's great.
Thank you.
Where was my name? You guys, you know, you've got all those statistics, you've done your homework, you've made the presentations, you got it all set up. So, I'm gonna just go back and now that we're really done with all of this, now, see the council like that, anything else. This time, you like to add anything else to the conversation.
Everything's pretty much already been said. Mr. Locke, if this was a rezoning application, we would have more discretion than we would with the final plat. Final plat, it would be- Well, not a lot of reasonable discretion the council has in approving a final plat.
There's no discretion.
There's very limited discretion for the council to approve a final plat, unlike a rezoning request. This is not a rezoning request. I know people have mentioned that it's a PUD. PUD is, the Habitat PUD is just the name of the final plat. It's not, we're not redoing the PUD at this point. So there is limited discretion that the council has legal reasons. And that was stated during the application itself.
The vote tonight is whether they met the obligations that they had for the PUD to be correct. That's the actual vote. It's not on this other stuff.
First vote was 4-1, that kind of did that. Then this came steps. So now all we're voting on is this direct resignation. Which is correct, it is correct.
The process was not legally followed. There were no legal issues with the process.
More than engineering.
Just because it's legal doesn't make it right, sir.
Who has this across from their house? Yeah. We've all talked about that, right? I don't know where else we could go, so now we're gonna have to make a vote on it. You guys have all done a great job, we should want to be, could be, we're very common, I know you guys are gonna handle this well. We'll have the city there, make sure everything's permitted correctly, and it's passed. Something else, so. Anyway, there's no further discussion, council? Yeah.
I do have a question. Based on everything that I've been listening to and based on what has been stated by the two legal person or three legal persons that spoke, I guess my question is, if we have these questions based on the possible procedural process, and I am not trying to override what our legal representation on our council speaks, but with the questions that have been raised regarding the changes in the zoning versus the procedural of how the vote was done. Of course, as Dave has already mentioned, we weren't here. I'm not sure if even the council members took into consideration of even talking to or visiting with any of the residents prior to voting 4-1 for something. So I don't know what the options are, and I understand based on what this gentleman has spoken and what Jeff has stated, it still does not feel right, and so I just want to put on record.
And I would ask, since it's, what we're voting on is not what much of the presentation is about, I would ask that Habitat give serious consideration to moving free on their own in a move of understanding. Thank you. Thank you.
My gentleman was one vote, first time on the ground. My question is basically, council has voted, council is here, legitimate. It's a true vote. Vote will stick to that portion of it. I was concerned also about the flooding issues that have gone. But for the issues we're talking about tonight, everything is buttoned up from a professional standpoint. It's all legal. We're going on that tonight. I don't see a hole in it. Whether it's right or wrong, or whatever, we got to, the city said it works. And then all outside engineers and inside engineers. So that's the mountain we have to climb. Other than that, you have anything, okay, then I would ask for.
I'll make a motion to approve the resolution.
Second.
Roll call.
I'm so sorry.
My second by Sean.
This says approval of the final plat. Is that true?
That's all we're doing.
That's all we're doing.
That's all
So
we're
you
doing.
can disapprove the final plat.
Based on
That's what we're talking about with discretion.
You can disagree with the final plat based upon the resident.
I made a resolution to, or
I don't think there's any legal obligation for you to vote for it.
They want to use
roll call.
Right. This is right. That's right, you represent the residents, you don't represent Habitat for Humanity, you have the church says.
Can you please let us continue on this? I'm sorry. Can you please let the council continue the business? I'm sorry. You guys had your chance to speak with me, council was very patient with you all.
And we've been patient.
We understand, and council is taking action. We need to report the vote. I'm sorry.
I'm not saying for it, I'm gonna.
Nay.
Yay. Yay. Yay.
Okay. Anything else on you go.
I was walking into so much action tonight. Yeah,